Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns that are funding and mentoring. I'm Sanana Jayseelan. On the show tonight, first up is an influencer conversation with Upgrad. On the other side of a break, the spotlight is on Teabox in our Small Giant segment. I'm being joined by the management at Upgrad, Mayank Kumar, to talk to us about his entrepreneurial journey and also to give us some insights into how the business is run, the USP, etc. Mayank, good having you joining us on the show today. I want to first ask you to talk to our viewers about your own entrepreneurial journey, and what that's really been like for you.
No, so my personal entrepreneurial journey is it's not that long. It started about 4.5 years back. I've largely been in consulting, VC investing, etc. And I think that while doing a whole lot of consulting someone, advising someone and investing money into the ecosystem, there was also a thought that, look, there's a large opportunity in the education sector and why is someone not doing it in the right manner? And that thought sort of led us to coming out with the conclusion that why should I advise someone else? Why should I put someone else's money when I could do it on my own? I think that's how the thought process started. And I think the large trigger was understanding of the sector, the frustration that things are not happening in the best possible manner, the fact that you know it a lot, but you're not able to make or drive a change. I think all those factors sort of came together to starting up with Upgrad earlier on.
Mayank, one of your co-founders at Upgrad is Ronnie Screwvala, serial entrepreneur, serial investor. My question is, even as we're seeing so much interest and growth in the edtech space, what perhaps, about the potential in the edtech space convinced someone like him to come together with the other co-founders to really set up Upgrad?
The Ronnie's thought process after doing UTV and sort of selling off UTV to Disney, he was thinking of what next in his journey. And I think if you know Ronnie, you know that he cannot sit, he cannot rest, and he's always very restless and figuring out what next to do. And I think he was thinking of sectors that could have large impact, but at scale. And therefore, amongst few ideas that he was evaluating, education was one of those. And I think our conversation with Ronnie and my conversation personally with Ronnie started earlier on when I was just discussing, what he wanted to understand what can we do in the education sector, and one thing led to another, and we came together. While we are going through building the ecosystem, while you have the sectoral knowledge, while you understand what the ecosystem is all about, but just thinking about scale, thinking about how to create a brand, thinking about how you can take decisions and move much faster. I think all those, something that Ronnie had added a huge amount into our journey at Upgrad.
How has Ronnie's investment and his involvement really helped the growth of the company? What can you tell us?
I think there are two parts. There's investment part. So I think that definitely helps in many ways in scaling up the business, because I think if you don't have the right kind of resources, just going out and creating a brand for yourself, building the right kind of product, the right kind of learning experience would not have happened. But more importantly, it's not the investment in terms of money, but the investment in terms of time. And for Ronnie, this is his own venture and he's a co-founder. And therefore, a lot of his time goes into guiding us, advising us, and not just mentoring us, but pushing us in the right direction as to which way do we sort of take the organization into.
I understand you teach courses when it comes to areas like big data, data science, etc. Why is it necessary, in your opinion, as crucial skill sets perhaps for entrepreneurs to know these things?
I think these skills are not just for entrepreneurs, but for most of the employees and working professionals. Even if you think of for yourself or for myself, I think the pace at which the ecosystem and the skills are changing, it's getting very difficult for people to keep up to speed. When I graduated, many of those jobs did not even used to exist, which are existing right now. And I think in this fast-moving environment, it is important for people to continue to reskill, upskill, and gain those right skill sets so they don't become redundant. Even if you think of how journalism has evolved, it's different than what it was 5 years, 10 years back.
Even as we are discussing your inspiration, if I can call it that, behind turning entrepreneur and what that journey has been like for you, talk to us specifically about Upgrad and what and why the education sector really for you.
I think when we say the edtech sector, we have perhaps education first, and technology enables us to sort of do it better. There were 3-4 reasons. I think one reason was very clearly that it's a large ecosystem. In India, there are about 150 million individuals who should be going to college and higher education, but less than 20-25% actually do. And therefore, access in itself is a big problem area for us to solve for. Two, if you go out and you check out the rate at which skills are becoming redundant, how quickly jobs are changing. I mean, my dad was one job 30-35 years. In today's day and age, the professionals change job once every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So the number of years that you are in a job is shrinking significantly, and that skills are becoming redundant very quickly. So skill redundancy was the second big area for us to focus on. But the third very important one, which was personally close to me, was just the fact that the quality of education is not good in this country, and there is something that one needs to do.
We talk very often about reskilling and upskilling here on the show and the importance of that for entrepreneurs, Mayank. So my question is, why are online courses and how are they really changing the hiring and the employment scenario here in the country?
No, it's changing it tremendously. I think for a lot of people, ultimately what happens is after you have done your 12th schooling, you just don't know what should you take. Whatever your parents are saying, you end up taking it. And over a period of time, after you have graduated and done your graduation, you start working in the job, you realize this is what I like, this I may not like enough. And at that point in time, the real understanding comes in that, look, I want to build careers in these areas. But while you're starting to work, you don't have an option of going back to universities again and again. And that's where folks like us, Upgrad, come into play, where we can help working professionals give you the right skills, help you in building the right careers ecosystem, give you the right credentials in partnership with universities, such that we become the university partners after university education itself. And that's where we come in, and we have seen people transitioning from someone who was in human resource doing data science after that.
Talk to us about the core business model of Upgrad. What is your USP that you're using, even as the edtech space is changing so much? What's really at the core of Upgrad as a business model?
So I would break it down into maybe 2-3 big sort of differentiation areas. I think one that we stand out differently is we partner with universities. So we bring a very strong amount of academic rigor into the ecosystem. Two, one of our biggest differentiation is that our programs are not short-term but long-term structured like what a university program would be. So it's a rigorous program where students have to devote upwards of 400-500 hours for doing the program over a period of a year. But the three and most important one for us is a very strong hand-holding. When someone thinks of online education, they think, I have to watch some videos and I will finish it off. But you not only just watch those videos, but there's a strong amount of hand-holding built in. Someone will follow up and say, okay, have you finished the program? Mayank, you are lagging behind. How can I help you? Someone will give you personalized feedback, give you saying, okay, you wrote this assignment, but this is where you made a mistake. All that human touch is what allows us to create a very strong, highly effective online ecosystem, which in most of our competitors or our sort of close sort of replicas in the ecosystem may not be focusing on.
Mayank, then let's finish this interview by asking you to talk about some advice or learnings that you would want to leave any entrepreneur who is debating whether or not to enter the edtech space.
I think entering edtech space is the easiest thing to do because for good or for bad, all of us realize that we know education because we have gone through some kind of education ourselves. But I think there are 2-3 things that I would strongly advise everyone to focus on. Is figure out what's the need that you are solving for and why is your solution better than the existing solution in the ecosystem. And that piece is very important at a very fundamental micro level. Two, go after opportunities that are large. don't try to narrow it down to a very small set of opportunity, but go for something where you can build a large scale business. Because in education, it's very easy to build a lifestyle business where you work in a small market, you get money, you are profitable, you continue and you sustain itself. But to grow, you need to focus on markets which are fairly large. 3, it's a very unsaid thing, but in education, pricing it low does not allow you to build large scale business. So I think finding the right price point is very crucial. If people don't spend enough time on getting to the right price point, they always feel that let's price it low, but sometimes pricing it low does not allow you to offer the right service and does not allow you to offer and attract the customer at the right level to your platform.
Mayank, thanks so much for your time here on the show.
No, thank you very much for having me on the show.
Let's slip into a short break on that note. Teabox is our small giant tonight. That's coming up when we come back on the other side of the short break. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight our second conversation is with Teabox. The premium tea market in India is at a very nascent stage, but that hasn't stopped the founders of Teabox from going ahead and convincing none other than Ratan Tata himself to come on board as an investor. How did they manage to do that? What's the growth like? What's their business strategy like? All that much more being posed by Mansi Chokse to the company. Take a listen.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show. So India is a country where tea is a traditional beverage. What was the core idea behind creating a brand such as Teabox?
See, let me start by correcting you that we are from a country which drinks chai, and at Teabox we predominantly deal in tea. Where we look at chai is nothing but a concoction of milk, sugar, water put together. But the real tea, which is grown in, say, the plantations of Assam and Darjeeling, have always been exported outside, and they are only to be consumed with water. We realized that Indian consumers never get access to the real tea because good quality tea gets exported outside, and B, by the time they even get access to any of the teas which comes back to India, it's already not fresh because tea is also an agriculture product. So we realized there's a huge opportunity in providing fresh beverage to consumers in India, literally every single corner.
India has a number of premium tea brands that sells various varieties of teas. So what is the USP of Teabox?
So we have pretty much 3 USPs to start with. Number 1 is quality. We're the only tea company in India which has a cold chain processing at source. So what I essentially mean by that is, say if the tea is produced on a Monday morning at a plantation in Darjeeling, literally by Monday evening or Tuesday morning, it comes into our sourcing centers where we maintain the temperature and humidity. We remove all impurities, we vacuum pack and store it at -5 degrees. Now you might ask, it's tea, why are you storing at negative temperatures? But many people don't realize that tea is also an agriculture product. You will never have your fruits and vegetables more than 2 days old. And why is that? You're ending up having teas maybe months if not years old. So freshness, ability to provide fresh tea because of the infrastructure is our strongest capability and USP. Number 2 is we look at tea not just as a commoditized beverage, but it's a experience. And if you look at our storytelling, our designing and our ability to combine all of that with a great product, I think that's something very, very unique.
Tell us something about the processes involved in this business, as in how do you store tea, what are the processes with transporting it and exporting it, and what are the various stakeholders that are involved in the running of this business?
So let me answer your question, the first one, in terms of our process. As I mentioned, we have a cold chain processing, literally -5 degrees. So within 24 to 48 hours, at max 72 hours, we bring the teas from the plantation once it's produced to our sourcing centers where we maintain temperature and humidity. We remove all of the impurities in that process through our QC or quality control process. Then we vacuum pack and store at -5. Through this, we are tackling three biggest enemies which affect quality of tea. Number one is presence of oxygen. We take care of oxygen by vacuum packing it. Number two is temperature. We store it at -5 degrees, so temperature is not going to be affecting the quality of tea. And number three is presence of light. We store it in 3-layer aluminum bags. So if you take care of all of these three elements, the tea which you get from us, even if you were to consume a year or 2 years later, it's very fresh, because once it goes out from our facility, either you'll get it in vacuum packs, again all of these things are taken care of, or you'll get it in tea bags. And we are the only company in the world to have a natural nitrogen flush tea bags, which essentially means that our tea bags are filled with nitrogen, and nitrogen is an inert gas, doesn't react with the product. So we used a lot of insights from food processing industry to make fresh beverage available to consumers around the world. And to your question about stakeholders, so tea is very big industry. The biggest stakeholder are the people who work in the industry. Many people don't realize that Indian tea industry is the second largest employer of organized labor after Indian Railways, and that's a huge amount of people working in such a big industry. Then the regions we operate, the governments are very involved, because you have a lot of people working at plantations. Anything if it goes wrong, it has an ability to create some sort of larger social change as well, good or bad. And thirdly, you have the consumers, both in India and outside India. So these are the combined stakeholders which kind of create the ecosystem for tea.
As you said, tea industry is one of those industries that employs a massive number of organized labor. But there have been a number of reports about labor abuse at tea plantations. What are your thoughts about this?
So this is something which is a big challenge, or I would say a big problem which needs to be solved. Many of the tea industries, or rather tea plantations, are located in such remote regions in India where the people, they are not very well educated, the people are very gullible and can be easily abused by people in many ways. I think, and we personally don't own any plantations, but we work with quite a number of plantations who have over the years positively tried to address that.
You are someone who has been really successful with fundraising. You have recently raised a fresh round of funding, and even Mr. Ratan Tata has invested in your company. Tell us what exactly is your fundraising mantra?
I think storytelling has been an incredible tool which we have used, and it's been slightly easy for us because there's a lot of stories we have been able to share in terms of what we are doing. So storytelling is the most important. Number two is it takes a lot of effort. Might look successful, but maybe I had to take 200 meetings just to get one investor on board. So just pure perseverance, pure relentlessness in terms of what you need to do.
You started your business in the online space, but now you are opening a number of physical touch points or retail stores. What is the idea behind this, and how did you prepare yourself for this shift?
Over the years we realized that at the end of the day, if someone needs to know and have an opinion about Teabox, they will have to try the teas. And unfortunately, I can't make them sample or try the teas online. So that was the fundamental reason we wanted to go offline. But when we started an experiential store, we were very clear. It's all about an experience. It's not so much about sales. So we look at our experience stores as part of our broader omni-channel strategy, where the discoverability and the trial of the brand or the products happens at the store. The first conversion maybe happens at the store, but second and subsequent orders and conversions happens at multiple channels, be it teabox.com, be it Food Halls and Nature's Basket, be it even Amazon. So omni-channel is very key, and offline gives you that touch and feel experience, and more importantly, the trial of the product. Fortunately, unfortunately, we don't sell a commoditized product, right? We sell teas from 10,000 to 2 lakh rupees a kilo. Now, if someone needs to pay 2 lakh rupees a kilo, ideally he would want to taste the product. Once he tastes the product, he is very sorted with the brand.
So what is the future looking like?
So our aspirations are very big. We really want Teabox to be known as India's first global brand. And when I say first global brand, not just in terms of creating the brand, but be a positive disruptor in the tea industry. Normally disruption is considered with slight bad or negative connotation, but we realized that tea industry employs the largest amount of organized labor after railways. India is the largest producer, one of the largest producer of teas, and see, it's a global product, there's no lack of demand. Yet most of the people who live or work in the industry live on less than $3 a day. And the only reason is because the brands are not created here, the value goes outside. Through Teabox, we want to create that value, bring the value back to the source. And even if I can do a 10% change in terms of $3 to $3.30, that's an impact of probably millions of dollars for people who have never had that opportunity in life earlier. So our aim is not just to make a global brand, which we will, but really be a positive disruptor and really put Indian teas on the global map.
Well, all the best for that.
Thank you so
for joining us on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, that's our show tonight. Our contact details up on your screens in just a moment to let us know what you thought of tonight's episode and any other feedback you might have. As we're ending tonight's show, I do want to talk about something that we're very excited about here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and that's our partnership with OddUp, the most trusted platform when it comes to everything that you need to know about the hottest startups, their future trends, evaluation, etc. This weekly capsule brings you all the incisive information that you need to know, and tonight, as we're ending, we're leaving you with an in-depth look across all startups in the Bengaluru market. Take a look.
Let's first look at the total annual investment in the Bengaluru e-commerce sector. In the year 2016, it was $760.60 million. In 2017, it was $957.3 million. In 2018, it was $2,711.90 million. In 2019, year-to-date investment stood at $2,428.10 million. Let's take a look at the number of companies which were launched in the 3 years 2016, 2017 and 2018. In 2016, it stood at 207, in 2017 at 87 and in 2018 at 49. Let's take a look at the funding of startups year-to-date for 2019. 59% received seed funding. 23% of all startups in this time period got Series A funding, 11% Series B funding, 5% Series C funding and 2% others. That's a wrap of our Bengaluru sector snapshot for this week. We will continue to bring you the most in-depth content on the startup space week after week right here on Leaders of Tomorrow.